Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a more philosophical video for you on the nature of recommendation and influence and active and passive recommendation and screwdrivers for some damn reason. Basically, I've been overthinking, so it's time for me to overshare. As a reviewer, there are many things that I do on a regular basis, but maybe the chief among them is recommendation. So, what does a recommendation look like? Generally speaking, it looks something like this. This right here, this is the Three Rivers Atom. I have it on my table. I haven't filmed the review yet, but I know I'm going to recommend it. So, I recommend this knife. I will say at the end of a review, this is a gem. I recommend this knife completely. If you have $200, you should pick one of these guys up. It is really excellent if you like the look of it, whatever. And I'll go on and on and on. And I'll talk about the things that are good about it and the fact that if, you know what, I genuinely believe, if you have $200 and you want a knife that looks like this one and this one will suit your needs, you should buy this knife. It will probably bring you some joy. That is a recommendation. Similarly, you know, my watch here. I mean, it's a qualified recommendation because you have to have, you know, several grand to consider spending on a wristwatch before you are thinking about any of this. But if you do, and that's what you're after, by God, do I recommend this. This is an amazing freaking watch, and if you are going to be spending that crazy amount of money on a wristwatch, I recommend that you do it this way because, well, frankly, I did. I really like it a lot. And so those are formal recommendations, right? Whereas a part of a video or on Instagram, I say, I really like this product. I use it in my daily life. Or, you know, sometimes I'll recommend things that I don't use in my daily life. I might say, you know, this is a really great, like the Benchmade Triage. I would never carry that knife, but I can recommend it to first responders because I think it's a very good choice for them. But nevertheless, there is an element of very explicit. I think you should pick one of these guys up. If this seems like it fits your needs, you will be happy with it. That is an active recommendation. However, not all recommendation feels like that, I don't think. Pardon me. And unfortunately, I think there is sort of a second category, which is maybe passive recommendation or what some people refer to as influencing. So I am, reluctantly, I admit this, I am what some people would consider to be an influencer. This is a term that has come about in social media marketing, but it basically talks about people that companies will effectively use to promote products. This is very often explicitly paid. Like a company will come up to you and I don't do the paid stuff, don't worry about that. But nevertheless, a company will say, you know, I will give you, you know, $500, and I get offers like this all the damn time. I will give you $500 to put, you know, Alpenfleek, you know, flashlights on your Instagram feed. If you give me 3 Instagram posts, I will give you $500. And where they just want people to see somebody who is prominent in the community using that kind of tool. And you will see this all the damn time from like celebrities and such on Twitter, like, oh my God, I've been using Face Master 3000 cosmetics and my face has never looked so facey. It's amazing. And they'll do like 3 posts, then they'll never talk about it again. But, you know, they just made some bank and okay, whatever. There is that kind of thing, but there is a lower level of it of just like, I am a person that some people consider their reviews to be useful and meaningful. And if I am recommending something, if I'm carrying something in my everyday life, even if I'm not explicitly saying you should buy this, at some level, there might be people who go, well, Nick kind of knows what he's doing, so it must be okay, right? And that's a little bit awkward for me because very often I will carry things for review that I just deeply don't recommend. And so, you know, very often if something comes across my table, like, okay, this little guy here from Rayot Knives, this was sent to me by Rayot, full disclosure, etc. But this guy was sent to me by them in exchange for a review. And I told him it's going to be an honest review and I'm going to give him an honest review. But this is a knife I will carry. And when I do, I'm going to be very specific about this is for a review because this is not necessarily a knife I'm going to recommend. I haven't had my full thoughts on it yet, so this doesn't count as a final review. But I don't know that I'm going to recommend this knife ultimately. Yeah. And so I need to be very explicit about that. But the other element of it is actually in terms of the other things that I carry. Example, I had this wallet for a long time. This is a wallet from the guy, well, I'm not even going to give his name because then people are going to look him up and they'll just get ripped off. Long story short, this guy ripped off a bunch of people. He happened to make me a wallet, but he also ran off with a bunch of my money too. I'd asked him to make a belt and whatnot, and I never got the freaking belt. He is absolutely not a gem. But for a long time, I had this wallet, and this was the wallet I was carrying. You know what? Wallet-wise, it's okay. I actually like my new wallet better, but it is a fine wallet. But my awkward part was every time I would take a picture of it, people would ask me, oh, that's a nice looking wallet. Who's it by? And I'd have to be like, no. He'll rip you off. I'm not even telling you. There is a level at which just using something regularly counts as a recommendation. This is part of what actually compelled me to go out and buy this little guy from K&H Leather, who is not the artisan who ripped me off. He is a very good guy and has made a wallet that I actually like way more. But nevertheless, I ended up buying this wallet very explicitly so I could stop carrying one by somebody I couldn't recommend whatsoever. And similarly, there are makers who, even if they made a really nice product, I just can't recommend to people because, well, they got some serious problems, whether it's in customer service and ripping people off. Those things happen, and that's always freaking ugly, but it's something I'm always conscious about. I never want to recommend something passively just by using it and carrying it that I wouldn't recommend to my viewers. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe no one actually gives a crap what I have to say, but this is something I think about. And this has actually been bothering me lately in this particular regard. Take a look at these screwdrivers here. Pardon me. So these are 3 screwdrivers. They're 3 very effective screwdrivers. This guy's by Alexander Peshkov, and these 2 are by Scout Leather Company here, and they are very, very expensive. These are $115 for a pair, including just one set of the bits. Come on, Scout guys, get with the program. And this little guy, although this is no longer being made, he announced a second run of these guys, and they're hard to buy anyways. And his price on them was like $95 for one freaking driver. And it's like, I really struggle there. And I think I even touched on this in my review of these Scout Leather drivers. That 100%, these are very nice drivers to use as you're actually disassembling things. They work just fine. And in fact, you've been seeing me using them for a little while, but I don't know that I recommend that you spend this kind of money on a screwdriver. Because at the end of the day, are they actually working all that much better? No, not really. And in fact, I did an experiment recently where I switched back to this little guy. Many of you may remember this. This is an iFixit driver. It is $10 purchased directly from iFixit, and it works with any micro size bit. Like for instance, this little Weehaw bit set, which I think you can buy for $30 now, $35. Something like that. And it has every freaking bit that you could possibly need for knife disassembly. It's a nice little set. And so I highly recommend this driver. I highly recommend this set. But in practice, I don't actually recommend these guys. Yet the weird thing is I've been using them. On the channel, for many of my disassemblies, I've been using them. And in my knife disassembly toolkit video, I've talked about, these are drivers I'm using. And I worry that at some level, even if in my review I was very sort of, I don't know. The fact that I keep using them has felt like an implicit recommendation to some people. And maybe I'm selling these guys when in reality I don't feel like you should spend that kind of money on these drivers. And so I've actually decided to make a very, very minor change. Something that I think I could have not announced and everybody would just like, oh, well, okay. Maybe people wouldn't even notice, but I'm making it, damn it, because I think it's important that I do so. Right now I have in the mail 3 more of these little guys right here. And I've decided that from here on out, I'm just going to use these. They're $10. You know what? They work almost as well. We're looking at like 90% as well as these fancy, expensive drivers. But the thing is, I can easily recommend this to everybody. Whereas these guys, I simply cannot. And I think that that's a little bit more in harmony with what it is that I'm doing. Even if these guys, maybe by a very, like particularly this guy, maybe by a very small margin, is a little bit nicer to use than these guys, it is certainly not 10 times as nice. So, well, yeah, I mean, it really certainly is not. That doesn't make any sense. And so I'm switching back to these, not because I need to, not because I feel like, anything has changed particularly, but because I want to recommend stuff that I can recommend. And so I'm doing that. And I don't know whether this is a smart idea. I don't know whether it actually matters. I don't know whether anyone cares. Maybe this is the most self-indulgent video in the history of YouTube. Oh, freaking knows. But this is a change that I've made, and this is something that I am constantly thinking about in my online presence, right? Because there are things that I can talk about being for review, but then there are things that I just do, that I just carry. And so whenever I'm picturing tools, sorry, I've got a magnetic flashlight stuck to something that fell over. Anyways, whenever I carry tools, whenever I talk about tools, there is an implicit thing, and so that's always something I'm thinking about. And if there's something I can't recommend, I do my best not to feature it, and this has been bothering me, well, more specifically, this has been bothering me in that regard. And so you're going to see a change in this, but this is something I'm always thinking about, and maybe it's not something anybody's thinking I'd think about, but it's definitely something I've kept in mind. So anyways, this is 10 minutes, holy crap. I hope this was at least remotely interesting to you, and I encourage you more than anything else to resist influencer marketing. This is a really weird thing for me to say because, dude, what do I do? But do. I mean, seriously. If you see something new, that's great. At the very, very best, advertising, which influencer marketing is an element of, should tell you that a product exists. Maybe you didn't know that DRM made a bigger version of the Neutron, and so you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. I like the Neutron, but I wanted it bigger. Now I can do some research. And maybe a part of your research is going to be watching videos. Watching a video by me, watching a video by some other people. There are so many really good YouTubers out there, and this is part of the reason why I'm trying to promote all these smaller channels on a regular basis, because I think it's important that there be a plurality of voices, but you should never let any one person influence your decisions entirely. You should never say, oh, well, if Nick is using it, it must be good, because that's not necessarily true. I mean, I try my best to make it true, but that you can't count on that. You should always form your own opinions on the basis of work that you've done, the basis of things you've thought about, and the basis of your research, etc. Do not be influenced, whether it's by me or by anybody else. And remember that there are people out there who are getting, in some cases, directly paid to, or in other cases, just getting freebies and whatnot. And again, you could, a cynic, maybe a realist, I don't know, could put me in that same, thing. If, if Steel Will sends me this little guy, the Tasso here, for free to take a look at some level, I'm probably complicit in all this. But don't let it happen. So next time you see somebody using a tool, don't necessarily assume that's the best tool. In my case, I'm doing my best to make that true, but, there have been cases where it hasn't been. I really encourage you to think critically about all the media you're being exposed to. I mean, not just the news, which is important too. But anyways, I hope this is interesting to you, that you've been able to avoid being influenced by this video. Actually, wait, no, I want you to be influenced by this one, such that you won't be influenced. This is getting complicated. Anyways, I hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Again, I'm trying to influence. Have a good day. That's a good thing to be influenced by. All right, I'm overthinking this now. Bye now.